I was telling you at the time, just so everybody knows, I was saying that I've led a provocative life.
Absolutely.
It's been a good life. It's been an interesting life, and there's been a lot of suffering and there's been joy. Like a lot of you, like everyone, I think, we experience both. And we were talking about how, we make the comparison because we need the comparison, right? We can't appreciate joy if we haven't felt pain. We can't
Amen.
see the light if we haven't been in the darkness, and most of us have probably had the what I'm going to call the dark night of the soul, where you were laying on the proverbial bathroom floor. And I know I have been there many times. I got familiar with that place. And provocative, I think it's a scintillating word to describe um, the unknown. And it's what we're doing every day. We're working in unknowns, and we don't know what the future is going to hold. And I think that leads to a lot of questions when it comes to us in our personal lives, but also in our professional life. We are guided by certain things, and I wanted to open up this morning with just saying a little prayer. God grant us the strength, the words, and the wisdom to move forward in your path that you have divinely created for us. And by the grace of you, God, we will be able to understand what it is that we need to do to give us the will and the strength to perform services in our highest good, and as you would have us do in your infinite wisdom. Amen. You
Thank
know,
thank you for
we
sharing.
we're we were I thought we were gonna, initially I was like, we're gonna talk about branding and we're gonna talk about marketing. And then, I hear these stories from people. I just got off the phone with somebody a few minutes ago who just lost her son. She's a real estate professional, and her husband had lost his son a couple of years ago. And they're a young couple, relatively. Everybody's young nowadays for me. I'll be 65 in June, and woohoo, I'm excited about it. Life is good today,
Life is good.
but
Life is good.
there are hurdles that we need to overcome, and we have to remember that when we're working with clients, and customers. We don't know what they're experiencing. You cannot tell a lot of times. There's a veneer. We were talking about that veil that we all have, held up in front of us. And even if we're transparent in most ways, there's still things that people don't, right? And so the same thing goes with our clients. We don't know what they're dealing with. And, um, like you probably don't know that I'm wearing pajamas right now. I go out in public, I'm wearing these pajamas, nobody knows. And I don't care because
Right.
I'm in my glory. And but that's just a simple way to describe you. We just don't know. And we want to be cognizant of that when we're relating to people, because ultimately in my experience working with clients for 40 years, in a very spiritual capacity, in a very physiological capacity, mental capacity, and emotional capacity. Living all over the world, I've been privy to living in cultures that were very different from ours, and people led different lifestyles, of course. And, but the one takeaway for me was understanding, coming away from all of that lifetime of living in so many different places, was to recognize that we all basically have the same needs, desires, and wants. We have the same fears, and if we can remember that with every encounter we have, it will serve us all in much deeper, more meaningful, more impactful ways, right? Um, I was kind of emotional coming off that call and into this one. And,
You should be. Yeah.
you know, uh, I just, I had written this quote, and I'm going to read it to you if it's okay, everyone.
Absolutely.
I've had a lot of endings in my life. In fact, there have been times when I considered ending my own life. I've learned to acknowledge those thoughts and those emotions and those feelings to allow space for them. Some of them are extremely raw, but they pass through. They pass through. And, today, I don't know who knows, some of my history, but I lost my father, my husband, and my son in a very short period of time. And my son uh, died in June. So it's a recent loss too. And Dave died a little over 2.5 years ago now. And I wanted to share something with you that these were lessons, they were poignant lessons that they gave to me by virtue of their philosophy, which was a win-win philosophy, which I'm sure you all have heard that term before, right? Being with KW. And um, my husband, Dave, was, a key figure in Keller Williams. And
Gina, let me interrupt you quickly because I think so many people here don't even know who Dave Jinks is. And for me, there's Gary Keller and there's almost Dave Jinks. I mean, that's how closely related they are. And so if you don't know, you should know because I had relationships with Dave, and that's why I was so excited when we met because I had never met you, right? And I know that in a weird way, you were an extension of that, and the man was so impactful to so many people. We talk about the Red Book and his contributions to that were enormous, right? And so I just wanted to put that in context. And if you'll allow me just another second,
sure.
tell us all what it is you do because you're talking about clients, and we know that that's not working with really buyers and sellers, right? I don't believe that they know, your work with mental health. And so tell us exactly what it is you do. And then because we didn't know, right? They don't know.
Yeah,
So
I get I get so excited about coming on and talking with people. I forget sometimes to introduce myself. So I'm assuming you read the language, talking about the post, this event. But so I've been a support to the real estate industry. I was brought to that capacity by Dave, my husband, who spoke all over the country and internationally. And when we got married, and even before then, I started following him, traipsing all over the place with him and listening to him speak. And then I started speaking to the real estate industry. And I worked as a coach to support real estate professionals. And I'm at this point an executive coach, an executive level coach. I am a holistic coach, which is very unique. And, it's based on us being a whole person with, operating on multiple systems, and so when we hear the term, for instance, mindset, I'm a believer that there is so much more underneath mindset. And because I am also a clinical hypnotist, I see so much value in both, in all parts of the mind, the conscious mind, the unconscious mind, and the mind below thinking. And our autonomic mind is responsible for all the systems of the body functioning, organs functioning automatically. Our brain is working automatically. But the issue is a lot of times that we will operate in different parts of the mind, and that doesn't always, it's not always in our best interest, right? But so working with people holistically over time it's been a long process and development. And I've been operating as a somatic practitioner, healing practitioner in different ways. And what I've found is that the link between mind, body, and soul is absolutely incredible. I mean, it is imperative that we understand that there's all these systems, these magical systems of the body working together. Our brain is an organ. It's part of the system, and it's an important part of the system, but there's a lot of other important parts of the system too that all have to work cohesively. For example, if we're not resting, we're not going to be functioning at our peak. We talked about that last night. We're not going to be, our executive function is going to be off, right? And so, if we're not hydrating, we're not nourishing our bodies in the way that we need to, um, with the foods we eat and the hydration levels that we need, the exercise that we need, the quiet time that we need. We need to get in a state of prayer and meditative um, uh, calmness, because that allows us an opportunity to really just tap back in, get out of the noise, the external noise, and can reconnect to ourself. And this is we're living a whole life, and some of us aren't really. We're doing that such a great job at that, right? We're kind of living half a life, right?
Amen. And I can tell
And
you, that was the excitement for me having you on, because I think with so many real estate professionals, we go, go, go. And there's more to it than just a go, go, go. Right. And I think you're the first, I'd say, complete holistic specialist therapist, call you what you want to, that I've ever had on in 3 years. And so I think we're at a point now, right? Uh, in our lives, I'd say on this earth, politically, all these different things where, you know what, we are and you're needed more than ever. And so again, I appreciate just the few minutes of pouring into us. So don't let me now interrupt your rhythm. I hope I didn't derail your
thank
thought.
you.
I,
No, I
I
like
think it
being
was
the
important
first.
to
So
hear.
I'm going to take a moment to celebrate that.
Yes.
I like to be the first at anything at this point, you
Okay.
know. So it's of interest to me that we focus so strongly in one area and we're actually taking space, we're diminishing the space of another area. And a classic example of that is the fallout that happens when we are we're not addressing other needs, other parts of our lives, right? We're not giving them those parts the credit that they deserve, the honor that the attentiveness that they deserve. And how can we serve our communities at the highest level if we're not even taking care of ourselves?
Amen. We, yes.
Right.
Right.
So we really need to address these issues. And then the other thing is our emotional health. So I'm a huge advocate of taking care of your sense of spirituality, because I think that that is a way to reconnect to the solvency of your emotional health. To get into a space where you can actually listen to what it is that your body is telling you. And I believe that we're all here for a calling. We're all here to make magical things happen. We are gifted with so many special opportunities. And in those gifts, some of us forget. Like I was on a call with somebody, I'll say they're a CPA, okay? And it's easy to get caught up in that world of, you're just focusing on this thing all the time, on this one task, right? And it's not just one task, but it's one body of tasks, right? And not take care of yourself. And you don't honor yourself. So if we're not honoring ourselves first, how in the heck can we honor anybody else? And we need to have a sense of integrity about working with people. I value myself first. I have a sense of integrity here. I am connected in all ways, grounded, so that I can help you and in the ways that will best serve you. I see you. I mean, I see you because I see myself. Does that make sense, everybody?
Absolutely.
You know? And so when we go about marketing and branding ourselves, and I'm a huge advocate. This is another important topic to me. Marketing and branding. We are putting all of this emphasis on the transactions when really it's important. I'm not dismissing that, but we are the brand, which drives home that if we are not caring for ourselves, how can we represent our brand in the best of ways, right? We are the brand. We are the brand. We as a human being, when we start to connect to that idea, we start to look at marketing ourselves in different ways, right? I want to be able to relate to people in ways that I will say, as a quote that you posted, I believe that, one of the most important things we can do is to see someone beyond sight, right? Beyond just what we see at face value, to really understand that they have core needs that want to be addressed. In essence, commerce is about emotional gratification. It's like, what does your client really need here? Look beyond the figures, look beyond that. It's like looking at a client avatar. You're gonna keep asking more and more questions. And this is how we get to the root of a problem. We keep diving in, more questions. You ask questions and then you ask more questions, and you keep going until you get to the core of their needs, right? So I don't know how we're at with timing here. Are we doing okay?
Good. You're good. You're
Okay.
good.
But it is remarkable to me how, when we look at the basic needs of our people, and I heard this in startup a class about business and startup business and startup businesses, and it was a collegiate level course that I took, and it was very in depth. And one of the questions that came up was, what is the common core? What are the three common core needs of anyone, any human being? Does anyone have the answers for that?
Love, laugh. I don't know.
Okay, so that's where I went
Okay.
initially.
Right.
It's not any of that. It is air, water, and food. Those are the three basic needs we all have. Everything else is desire. Everything else is want. So, what do our people want? What do we want? I'm going to ask you guys that. What do you want? We have to keep, yes, human connection is important. I think it's Richie who's saying that.
Yeah.
Yes, it is important. It is critically important. If we look at the concentric, that there's, the influence that we have in the world, and we're all influencers, by the way. Every one of us is an influencer. And we were talking about this last night. I said, whatever, whether we want to be an influencer or not, we are influencers every single day, all day long. Right. So, oh, I forgot where I was going. Where was I at, Ben?
Well, it happens to me all the time, right? We were talking about desire and air, food,
Yeah. So,
or right. Everything else is a desire, right?
yeah. And so you have to ask yourself, what do you really want? What outcome do you really want? And um, I think that we get confused, because we're constantly in motion trying to make things happen. And recently I was looking at one of my client needs was finance. She wanted fiscal help. She wanted some direction, right? And she was part of a very large corporation at the top tier leadership of this corporation, and she was asking me, she was telling me that she had some very important questions, things that she needed help with. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, um, she's on the right track, but here again, it's like, what are your basic needs? What do you want? Not just what your needs are. What do you want? What are your basic desires here? Frankly, I believe that she would be a perfect candidate for starting her own company and becoming the CEO of her own company, because she had brilliant ideas, but the leadership couldn't necessarily see that because they were looking at the bigger picture and she was breaking it down. And I thought, oh, she's genius. Um, because if we are looking at things like our fiscal health, even I questioned that recently. It's like, where's my money going? Where's my time going? What are my earnings for this year? What do I want to make for this year? Where are my goals at? And I had to keep breaking it down and breaking it down and breaking it down, just distilling it down to Do I have confidence in myself? That's what it really came down to. And for my client too, do you have confidence in yourself that you are on the right track? Now, how we convey that to people is the art of communication, and we do have influence and we need to be ethical about our power of influence, but every one of us is incredibly powerful, incredibly powerful. We have the ability, the capacity to change not only our mind, our own views, but we can ethically shift ideas and concepts for other people, ideologies. We have common core value systems, but our ideas can change. Have you ever had something that you really believed in, you were really convicted about it, and then you hear more information and you lean in a little bit more because you might be resistant at first, but you lean in a little bit more and you realize, oh, I didn't put two and two together there. Now let me look at this part of the equation. And you can completely radically shift your mind and your opinion about something. And it could be a huge thing. It could be about faith. It could be about, your politics, your money beliefs, right? I mean, I've had people tell me, "Oh, I'm not a I won't even tell you what they actually said, but it was about wealthy. It was about people being wealthy." And I said, "Do you really believe that? Let me ask you some questions." And I just kept asking questions and asking questions. And I realized, not me, like they realized that their belief about money and about what they deserved, what they really deserved in life with their own mobility, what do they want? Well, they wanted money and they were envious. And so, you can see how our perspectives can take us in either direction and wildly different, I mean, polarized directions, right? So we do ourselves a service when we ask more questions. And the way that we do that is through communication, right? So we all need to work on our communication skills. We could all do better, but it is shaped about our beliefs and a lot of times about our own beliefs about ourself, right? People who want to learn how to speak now, speak more effectively, communicate better, stand on a stage and speak. We have to understand ourselves first and foremost ideally, before we have some idealized point of view with anybody else.